Okay, so you know that feeling,
Right.
like that first sip in the morning. Or maybe it's that afternoon pick-me-up.
Yeah, that ritual.
Exactly. Today, we are going deep on that. It's all about the effects of drinking coffee.
Lots to unpack there.
There is. We're looking at a really interesting article we found over at 10 Most today, and honestly, it's pretty fascinating.
It is. I mean, just how universal coffee is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it for a second. A quick shot on your way to work, lingering for hours at a cafe. Coffee is
Oh,
everywhere.
no, it really is global. It's so much a part of our routine.
And it's social, too. I mean, it's so much more than just a drink.
Totally agree. When you travel, you see how different cultures make it their own. Like you were saying, it's more than just a drink, it's an experience.
Definitely.
A moment. Absolutely. And in this article, we found they really get into all the potential health benefits, too.
Which are pretty surprising.
They are. Like when
Yeah.
you think of coffee, you don't always think healthy.
Yeah, you think caffeine, energy.
Right. So that's our mission today. Let's filter out all that noise and really look at what this article has to say. Like what's actually good about drinking coffee. Okay, so first up, the obvious one, energy.
Well, it's the main reason most people drink it, right?
Makes sense. The article points out that coffee is packed with caffeine.
And caffeine is like the enemy of tiredness. It's been proven.
Totally. But it's not just about feeling less tired, is it? What else is going on in our brain?
That's where it gets interesting. So caffeine actually interacts with your brain. And it can sharpen your mind. Like, it's not just about energy levels. Your mood gets a boost. You're more alert, more focused.
Okay, so it really does flip a switch in the morning.
It can.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that surprised me in this article was the stuff about heart health.
Oh, yeah, me too. I did not expect that.
So they talk about this Dutch study. And it suggested that people who drink 2 to 4 cups a day
Okay. 2 to 4. Got it.
might actually lower their risk of heart problems by like 20%.
Wait, 20%? That's huge. So how does that work? How is coffee helping your heart?
They think that coffee might actually help to reduce inflammation in your arteries.
Interesting.
Yeah, and inflammation, when it's chronic, it's a big factor in all sorts of heart problems. So anything that can help soothe that is probably good news long term.
Right. It's not just about the energy boost then. It's like a little internal hug for your heart too.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've all seen those ads, right? And the weight loss supplements. And this article mentions coffee as a natural fat burner.
Yeah, it's appealing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So is that just hype?
Well, there's a reason you see caffeine in so many of those supplements.
Yeah.
The article is pretty clear that caffeine is a natural fat-burning substance. It's been shown.
So how does that work? How does my morning coffee burn fat?
Research has suggested that caffeine can actually boost your metabolic rate.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Think of your metabolism like your body's engine, right? The thing that burns calories. So caffeine revs up that engine. And if your metabolism is working better, you could be burning fat more efficiently.
Okay, so maybe that second cup is justified. Now, this next one is pretty broad. It's about disease prevention. And the article links coffee to a lower risk of some pretty serious diseases.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive list.
Like what specifically?
Okay, so they specifically mentioned things like liver cancer, basal cell carcinoma, which is a kind of skin cancer, by the way, and then things like heart failure, Parkinson's disease, and even type 2 diabetes.
Wow, okay. That's quite a list. And they have research to back this up.
Well, for the diabetes part, they highlighted a meta-analysis from 2009. And meta-analysis, for people who don't know, basically means they took a bunch of studies that already existed and combined the results to look for overall trends. And that study indicated that, yeah, people who drank coffee regularly could lower their chances of getting type 2 diabetes.
Okay, so it's not just a random correlation. There's actual research here.
There is. Of course, it's important to remember correlation doesn't always mean causation. But it's still pretty fascinating, right? Definitely deserves more research.
Absolutely. Now, the article also calls coffee an excellent source of antioxidants.
You hear that word a lot, Ryan, when they talk about healthy foods.
What a time. But what does it actually mean for coffee drinkers?
Well, the article talks about the typical Western diet.
Okay.
And they say it's lots of high-fat foods. Red meat, refined grains, sugary stuff.
Not always the healthiest.
Right. But they actually point out that coffee is one of the biggest sources of antioxidants in that kind of diet.
So even if your diet isn't perfect, that daily coffee is still doing some good.
Exactly. Antioxidants help neutralize free radicals in your body. And free radicals can lead to all sorts of chronic diseases. So the fact that so many people drink coffee regularly is a good thing in that respect.
That is a good point. Now let's get into something a little more specific. There's some interesting research coming out of Harvard University about coffee's effect on hormones. especially for women.
This is really fascinating. They talk about findings that suggest women who drink several cups of coffee a day are less likely to develop endometrial cancer.
Hmm.
That's the cancer that affects the lining of the uterus.
Okay. And what's the thinking there? How is coffee balancing hormones?
Well, they think coffee might help regulate certain hormones, specifically insulin and estrogen.
Ah,
And when those hormones are too high for too long, they can contribute to certain types of cancer. So coffee might be helping to keep things balanced.
that's some pretty significant stuff. Now, it's not all about physical health, is it? The article also talks about coffee as an antidepressant.
Yeah, they mentioned a study from the Archives of Internal Medicine, and it found that women who drank like 2 or 3 cups a day were less likely to get depressed.
So again, it goes back to the caffeine.
Exactly. Caffeine gives you energy. And as we're seeing here, it can really lift your mood too. So it might play a role in fighting off depression.
Wow, okay. And of course, we all want to live longer. So the article talks about longevity. And they say the research is limited, but they do mention a study from the New England Journal of Medicine. Anything promising in there?
Well, that study suggested that people who drink coffee might actually live longer than people who don't.
Really?
Yeah. But of course, there are lots of other things that affect how long you live, like your overall health and your habits and all that. So
Right,
it's not a
sure.
simple answer, but it's an interesting connection for sure.
Right. Coffee is probably just one piece of the puzzle. So this next part is really interesting. The article talks about how coffee might help with tranquility and even reduce suicidal thoughts. And they mentioned another Harvard study, this one from 2011.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is. So tell me more about this study.
So they looked at women who drank more than 4 cups of coffee a day, and they found a link between higher coffee consumption and a 20% lower risk of depression.
Okay, that's significant.
It is. But what's even more amazing is that daily coffee drinking was linked to a 53% lower likelihood of suicidal tendencies.
Wow, 53%. That's incredible. So is this all about caffeine again?
That seems to be the common thread. It's like caffeine gives you energy, it boosts your mood, and that seems to have a really positive effect on your mental well-being.
Okay, so last but not least, the article talks about day-to-day performance, which most coffee drinkers already know about.
Yeah. Who hasn't reached for coffee to fight that midday slump?
Oh man, I know I do.
It's so common. And the article basically says that, yeah, caffeine helps you focus. It helps you get things done. It lets you power through your day.
Right. I mean, that's why we drink it, right?
Ugh.
But it's nice to see some research backing it up.
Absolutely. So to sum it all up, it looks like our daily coffee ritual is doing way more than just waking us up.
I mean, we're talking maybe protecting our hearts, maybe fighting off some diseases, getting those good antioxidants, maybe balancing our hormones, feeling happier, and even maybe living longer.
It's pretty incredible, right? Who knew one simple drink could have such a huge impact on our health?
It makes you think.
Yeah.
Like, how is something as normal as coffee changing our bodies in ways we don't even realize?
Yeah, there's still so much we don't know.
Mhm.
But the research is ongoing, so who knows what we'll discover next.
Exactly. It's definitely something to consider the next time you grab your coffee. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
See you next time.